Today I'll be talking about how to learn a language. This can also apply for really learning anything, but it's more specific to learning a language. So I'll be breaking it down into 3 basic steps, and I'll be kind of just going into detail of the steps. So I just wanted to talk, first of all, what languages do I know? What languages have I learned? Um, so I speak English. That's my native language. And then I can sort of speak Spanish with decent fluency, as I did an exchange program earlier this year. And then for this last month and a half, I've been attempting to learn ancient Greek. Now, my goal was to be able to understand some of it, like being able to read, for example. My goal wasn't really to learn to be able to speak it with any fluency, just because that wasn't the reason why I was learning it, but I wanted to talk about what my sort of process is when I go into learning a new language and what I've discovered about learning language. So, I have started learning many languages, and I plan on actually learning them to fluency in the future. Just because I think languages are super important. They are central to being human beings, communicating with one another. It's how we are social creatures. It's like why we're social creatures. And the reason why I think it's so important to be able to learn and understand other languages is because you can communicate with so many more people. People act differently, and they talk differently, and they just kind of hold themselves differently when they're speaking in different languages. And I think that it's important to be able to talk to another person in their native language and not always depending on someone else to be able to speak your language. First step is experiment. Uh, Everybody learns differently, and I think it's really important to figure out how you learn best. Uh, in school, of course, whenever we are taught our language, our foreign language, that most of us had to take at some point, we are only really given one way to learn a language. And sometimes, depending on the teacher, they'll try to switch it up so that every student can learn differently, but it isn't always helpful. Now, there are different ways you can go about doing this. I would recommend for a standard language, not necessarily an ancient language, but maybe looking at Duolingo, see if they have it. And you kind of want to start out with a good base general one, perhaps. Just kind of getting a feel for the sound of the language and just getting a general sense of it overall. The other thing I'd look at are books, particularly for ancient languages. The way I've been doing it is I've been reading a book, and I've been looking at a few online sources. A lot of universities actually offer free online courses for ancient languages. Harvard and University of Texas, they both have online uh, courses that you can look at for free, and those have been pretty helpful. But the main book that I've been using is Athanaze. It's one of my father's old college ancient Greek textbooks, and so that gives a good overview. Then I would also look at like novels. Maybe if you like reading, maybe find a novel in the language that you want to learn, but it's also a novel that you'd be kind of interested in anyway. Or find TV shows or movies that are in the foreign language. Almost all streaming platforms, movie and video streaming platforms, will have foreign language films and foreign language TV shows. For Spanish, one of the ways that I've studied Spanish and still am is I find a TV show that I like watching. It's normally kind of a dumb telenovela, but it's a little bit interesting, and it's fun to watch a show. With the shows, I recommend you start out by doing English subtitles, so that way you're listening to the Spanish, but you can still understand what's going on. Then maybe in season 2 of the show, then you do Spanish subtitles, or the whatever language that you're learning subtitles, and then do no subtitles. Even if you're not fluent, even if you still don't really understand everything that's going on, you want to challenge yourselves to being able to look at the actors' faces and expressions and getting context clues, and that's how you understand. And then the other way, some people just have to go out and talk with a person who speaks that language. This one will be hard for ancient languages, but you can always find a professor. You can look at videos online of people talking in the language, and there's different ways to help it like that. But experiment with different things, and you always want to have a balance. You don't want to just learn a language from a TV show, probably. You want to learn some of the grammar, but find out what works best for you. 2, commit. This is a pretty basic step, but committing to the language, you have to practice every day. You have to be able to really engage in the learning of the language. One of the reasons that I haven't been super successful with learning ancient Greek is because I haven't been able to fully commit to it. The way that I learn is I like getting a big picture overview of everything, and then I like to break it down slowly, but I kind of like to do this all at once. Not in a day necessarily, but within very close periods of time, I like to be able to just do everything all at once, and that is just the way I learn. As it is ending this, as we are getting closer to the end of the school year, and with this weird distance learning thing, I haven't had that much time to actually fully commit to learning ancient Greek, and that is one of the main reasons why I haven't been super successful in learning this. Third tip is to practice. Now, I know this tip is in almost any video about learning anything, but it is true. You just have to practice. Practice speaking with somebody else. Practice reading the textbook. Practicing speaking, just talking to your family, even if they don't know the language. Keep on working at it and keep on trying. It's super important to be able to do that. And seek out a mentor. A mentor can help you on track and give a schedule for yourself. Yeah. So, what I have to say overall is find out what works best for you, but by using those 3 kind of steps, experiment, commit, and practice, you will be able to learn a language. You will be able to learn really anything. I know that I've found that I like to look at the culture of a language, like why does that language exist, and that can help you give you an idea of what you're going to get from this language. Like, there's all sorts of reasons why all these different languages exist, and for me, I like learning the story behind the language, and for you, that might be something entirely different. You can go at it more grammatically, or you can go at it more toddler absorbing words weirdly way, which is the way that I tend to lean towards. And yeah, go out and learn. Bye.